Good morning. Welcome to our regular second Saturday meeting. Before going into presentation, I want to highlight yesterday's TCS result. Yesterday TCS result came after market hours. Results were above expectation. More than results, the commentary from the management is extremely positive. TCS management told that next year is going to be very good for them. Next year is going to be very good for them, and they are likely to grow double digits in FY22 as well as in calendar year 21. So we feel that IT companies likely to do well in coming days in spite of sharp rally we have seen. Basically, there are four large cap IT companies, that is TCS, Infosys, HCL Tech, and Wipro, and try to own at least two of them among four. One is between TCS and Infosys, try to hold at least for 1 year. And in next category, HCL Tech and Wipro, try to own one of them. So out of four companies, try to own two of it for next 1 year. We expect it will give good returns in spite of recent rally we have seen in stock prices of IT companies. So now coming into presentation, this time we have lot of screen, lot of slides we have added, and we will go one by one. So market has gone up very sharply, and it is at record higher levels. So the many questions we are asking from our client side is the market is in a bubble territory? I want to make sure that at least Indian markets are not in bubble zone, even though valuations are record high levels. If you see on the PE ratio, it is trading around the 34 level, and in market cap to GDP ratio, it's at a above average level. Markets are not in bubble zone, though there may be some corrections time to time. We don't expect market to crash like what we have seen during March time. So the main reason why market has been going up is due to heavy buying by foreign portfolio investors. Even yesterday, if you see, foreign portfolio investors have bought around 6,000 crores worth of share. And in the current financial year, the total flows has touched nearly $30 billion, which is the highest ever in a single financial year. Still almost 3 more months to go, and more flows likely to come. Even for calendar year, for FY20, for 2020, which has just ended, foreign flows has been around $23 billion. So foreign investors are very positive on Indian markets, and they are continuously buying. On domestic macro data, if you see, after last month of some lull, the domestic macro data has again improved. If you see, the GST collections are at record higher level. There are two reasons for GST collection to go up. One is that government has become very strict on evasion. So some tax which was used to be evaded, now they are actually flowing into government kitty. That is why GST collection is going up. The second thing is that even if economy improves, if auto sales improves, then GST collection will go up. Auto is one of the main contributor for GST collection, and we are seeing good auto sales from almost all companies. We are hearing reports that there are waiting list for many models of Maruti cars for 6 months to 8 months. So auto sales has been good, which is leading to higher GST collection. And the trade data was very positive. After a very long time, we have seen that import has gone up. So basically, if import goes up, that means that the domestic economy has improved, consumption has improved. That is why the import data has gone up. And the next event that we have to watch is the union budget, which is on February 1st. We expect market to be very active till February 1st on expectation of budget announcements. Generally, some of the sectors like infrastructure, cement, and defense, they used to do well just before budget. Even railways stocks used to do well just before budget. And we expect that in the next 2 weeks, on budget expectation, lot of individual stocks will go up, but we have to be very careful on budget expectation stocks. Generally, in railway stocks, historically, we have seen many times in the past that railway stocks used to go up very sharply. At that time, railway budget used to be a separate budget, but now it has been mingled with the union budget. And post budget, generally railway stocks used to fall very sharply in the past. So on budget expectation stocks, you have to be very careful, and one should be see as a trading opportunity only in the budget stocks. And global market, if you see, US markets are at record levels. In spite of lot of drama happening in Capitol Hill, US market continue to go up. And Nasdaq, if you see, it has been continuously going up. It has crossed the 13,000 level. And some of the companies, if you take like a Tesla and all, if you see, means they are going up vertically, and we are little confused why it has been going up like this. And some of the experts were telling that Nasdaq is in a bubble zone. You have to be very careful. Many loss-making companies whose valuations are justified based on 20-30 earnings, that is 10 years away from it, are going up, and we have to be extremely careful. And there is a possibility of sharp correction in Nasdaq, yeah, in current year itself, that is in 2021. So during that time, our markets also may fall, but that will be a great opportunity to buy in our market. And if we see the performance of Nifty and Sensex in the last 1 month, Nifty and Sensex has gone up by almost 6%, and mid cap and small cap almost 8% it has gone up. So it has been overall a very good month, and many stocks has rallied, and some of the stocks has gone up by 40%, 50% like that. And this is the Sensex EPS historic chart. Actually, it's a very important chart, and it reveals a lot of important data. And if you see that, like company which declares a EPS every year, and based on that, we tend to see what is the PE ratio a company trades. Like that, the Sensex EPS is nothing but the collection of earnings of all the companies which are in the Sensex. So based on that, if you see in the last 25 years, if you see, means if you plot the Sensex earnings, you will get a lot of interesting data. So in the last 6 years, almost there is no growth in Sensex earnings. Sensex CAGR, that is Sensex earnings has grown by 5% per year in the last 6 years. That is virtually nothing. That is 5% growth in the last 6 years is not a great earnings growth. And during that time, if you see the Sensex earnings has gone up by Sensex earnings has gone up by just 2% in the last 6 years, between FY14 to FY20. Sensex earnings has gone up by 2%, whereas Sensex has gone up by 5%. If you see over a long-term period, that is in the last 25 years, between FY95 to FY20, almost 25 years earnings, what the chart reveals is that Sensex tracks the Sensex earnings only. So Sensex earnings has gone up by 9%. Similarly, if you see that Sensex also has gone up by 9% CAGR in the last 25 years. So Sensex clearly mimics what the Sensex earnings does. There may be some period of overshooting of Sensex. There may be some period of underperformance of Sensex on the earnings. But overall, on a period of 25 years, if you see that Sensex has grown exactly in line with what the Sensex earnings has grown. So this clearly tells that stock prices are slaves to earnings, and stock price follows only earnings. There may be periods where stock prices used to overshoot, but ultimately it will catch up with the earnings over a period of time. And if you see during this last 25 years, between FY95 and 98, Sensex earnings has gone up. Sensex earnings has gone up by 17%, whereas Sensex has gone up by just 6%. Whereas in the next 5 years, if you see, Sensex has gone down by 5%, whereas earnings were almost flat. So we had a very flat Sensex earnings period between FY98 to 2003. Then we had a very sharp uptrend in Sensex earnings. Almost 25% Sensex earnings has gone up. Whereas at that time, what happened was Sensex has overshooted and Sensex has gone up by 39%. Almost in the 5 years, Sensex has given 39% compounded return, which is the golden period of the Indian stock market, where it was led by both export as well as domestic. Then after that, global economic crisis came, and Sensex earnings fell only 6% CAGR, 8% CAGR, whereas Sensex has gone up by 6%. Then after that, the 6 years of huge disappointment was there. Sensex has gone up by 5% because of PE expansion, whereas Sensex earnings, it was just 2% growth. So one of the reason why Sensex earnings did not went up in the last 6 years was that during that period, almost 4 years, the monsoon was very bad. Then we had demonetization, then GST implementation. So at that time, because of all these things, Sensex earnings did not went up. And the last year, FY20, there was marginally improvement earnings, mainly led by a reduction in corporate tax. So what market is now expecting is that due to flat earnings in the last 6 years, they are expecting that next 2 years there will be a huge growth in the earnings because the economy is always in cyclical. So now we are in the trough. So the next 2-3 years we are expecting a sharp growth in earnings. That means the PE ratio, which is the function of price and earnings, when earnings goes up means naturally PE ratio will come down. And this is one of the earnings estimate of a broker, a foreign broker called Jeffries. And if you see that in the last 6 years, the Nifty earnings did not went up as expected. Whereas in FY22, if you see that they are expecting, that is next year, they are expecting almost 37% growth. And FY23, they are expecting almost 22% growth. So next 2 years, almost everyone is expecting there will be a surge in earnings growth, which means that price to earnings will tend to fall. That is the reason why our market is overvalued, looks overvalued now. Whereas in next 2 years, if earnings started going up, means then a P ratio will come to normalized level. If you see the valuations, if you see that this is the market, there are various parameters where we can see how the market is overvalued. Various methods are there to gauge the overvaluedness of the market. One of the method is the traditional PE ratio. So last time in 2007-8, PE ratio went to 28. Right now, at that time only market peak, whereas the average PE ratio our market is to trade is around 17-18. So when market went to 27-28 earnings, it fell very sharply. And now we are trading around 34 PE. So market is slightly overvalued, mainly because the earnings growth was not there in the last 5 years. That is number one. Number two is that many stocks, which were quality stocks, has been added into the index, both Sensex and Nifty, like Asian Paints were added, which historically tend to trade at higher PE. Even that stock is trading more than what it used to trade. The second thing parameter used to gauge the market value is the market cap to GDP ratio. It is now almost trading at 100 to market cap, 100% of market cap to GDP ratio. Long-term period average is 60%. That is, market is overvalued now. So what everyone now expecting is that in the next 2 years, 3 years time, earnings will go up very sharply, which means that in the PE ratio, denominator, that is earnings will go very sharply, means naturally PE ratio will come down at the same price. And many retail investors, I used to interact with them, and if I see, means they are divided, their opinions are divided. Investors who are there in the market, who have seen last 2-3 crashes for the last 10 years, 15 years, they are very cautious. They feel that the market looks extremely overvalued, and the price movement and all, they are not satisfied. They are not happy with the price movement in the market, and many of them are withdrawing money from the mutual fund, and they are not putting fresh money. Whereas investors who entered recently in the last 1 year during a market shutdown, and in the last 1 or 2 years, they are very bullish and they are more committed. They are putting more money into the market, and they are extremely bullish. uh, that is the feedback I am getting from retail investors. So there are two categories. One category where they are extremely cautious. They are staying away from the market and withdrawing money from the market, and they're not putting any fresh money. Whereas the other set of investors, retail investors, they are continuously trading in the market and putting in the market. They remain bullish. They feel that next 2 3 years it will be great time for our market. So that is the feedback we I'm getting from the retail investors. Generally, in the peak of the market, what we used to see is that there will be a unanimous positiveness among the retail investors. But now I am not seeing that. So retail investors are divided. So that means that market we are still not have achieved the peak of the market. Time to time there will be sharp correction. Generally, bull market corrections are very sharp and it will shake everyone. But ultimately it will cross previous peak. So what we feel is that we feel the same thing, that market, even though it is overvalued, still it is not in the bubble zone, and market has to go up still a lot in coming years. And this is the foreign flows chart, and this is the financial year, that is from April to March. And if you see that in the current financial year, from April to January, FII flows has been almost 30 billion, whereas in the previous two years the flows has been very muted. Almost in the last 5 years the flows has been very muted, and in FY21 still 2.5 months to go. Almost we have touched 30 billion. Likely we are going to end with around 35 billion in coming in FY21. Ever FII flows in a single year. And in calendar year, if you see, that is from January to 20, India is one of the few emerging markets which has got very good inflows from foreign institutions. So the 23 billion we have got from foreign institutional investors from January to December 11. Whereas many markets like Indonesia, Philippines, Brazil, Taiwan, South Korea, where there has been a huge outflow. In spite of, if you see South Korean market, in spite of huge outflow, South Korean market is one of the best performing market in FY20. Even yesterday, if you see that one company, Hyundai, it's the largest listed stock in South Korea. That stock went up by 20% in a single day on talks of Apple and Hyundai going to tie up for electric car project. So overall, FIs are very bullish on Indian market, and they are not unanimously bullish on everywhere. And there are so many markets where they are withdrawing money, whereas in India they have put in very good, decent money, and they expect that in coming years India will do well. And this is the dollar index. So in the last 2 months, I have been continuously stressing on this index, because based on the dollar index only commodity stocks and FIs flow generally used to follow, especially some of them who are doing trading in commodity stocks, steel stocks, then non-ferrous stocks like Vedanta, and all. You have to track this dollar index very closely. These stocks generally move inversely to the dollar index. For example, if dollar index falls, means these stocks used to go up, whereas if dollar index goes up, means these stocks used to fall. And if you see the dollar index has come nearly to 89 from the peak of 110, and it is expected that dollar index used to come down further. Time to time it may bounce back, but it used to come down further. Generally, this gold and silver used to trade exactly inversely to this dollar index. When dollar index falls, means when dollar index falls, means then gold and silver prices used to go up. When dollar index goes up, means then gold and silver prices used to fall. Even yesterday, if you see that dollar index went up. Day before yesterday, I took this chart. It was 89.73. Whereas yesterday, if you see that dollar index crossed 90, that means dollar index went up. That is why gold and silver fell very sharply yesterday. So those who are trading in the gold and silver, as well as in commodity stocks like steel stocks, then non-ferrous stocks like Hindalco, Vedanta, they used to track this dollar index very closely, because these stocks used to trade inversely to the dollar index, and movement will be very sharp. And this is the another commodity index, CRB commodity index. You see that the CRB commodities it went almost to 450 in the year 2008. At that time, at that time, no. Commodity stocks went up very sharply, and it is mainly due to China demand. So when financial crisis came, all the commodity stocks fell very sharply. That is the chart, and then it bounced back. Then it was almost down. Now, if you see from the peak, still it is far below. This CRB commodity index is a mix of almost all commodities. It has energy, that is crude oil, then natural gas, which has almost 40% weightage in this commodity index. Then another 40% weightage is led by agri commodities. Then balance 20% is led by the base metals and precious metals. So it is a mix of almost all commodities. And if you see that crude oil in 2007, it went up to 140. Now it is still around 55. That is, crude oil is trading just to 1/3 of it. That is why if you see that commodity index is still far lower. Whereas if you see the base metal and precious metal, it is almost near to all-time high where we have seen in 2007. Only because of energy index is sharply lower, the commodity index is still far lower from what we have seen in the 2007. Next important thing what we have to watch is the government policy. So what usually happen is that whenever this dollar weakens, almost all commodity prices used to go up. Agriculture, whether it is agri commodities or ferrous, that is iron, or non-ferrous, copper, aluminum, then energy, that is crude oil, coal, and natural gas, then precious metal, platinum, gold, silver, like that. So whenever dollar weakens, historically, if you see, all commodity prices used to go up in dollar terms. Suppose if dollar weakens means naturally rupee has to appreciate. But government, if they want, they can prevent appreciation of rupee by building reserves where RBI will buy directly whatever the dollar inflows comes into the country. Thereby, they will build the reserves and rupee will not be allowed to appreciate. If that happens, means what will happen is that commodity prices in India also will go up because rupee is if it is not allowed to appreciate means in dollar terms, if commodity prices goes up means while converting into rupee, commodity prices will go up. It will lead to inflation. But what will happen on the other hand is that due to rupee is kept stable, our exports will do well because our rupee will be very competitive on the global market and exports will do well. So we have to see what government and RBI will try to do. As far as the last 3 months, 4 months, if you see means in spite of a very huge inflow from FIIs, in spite of a huge flow from foreign direct investment that we have seen in the Reliance subsidiaries, in Reliance Jio and Reliance Retail, rupee is not allowed to strengthen. That means what government wants is that they want a stable currency. That means almost a weak rupee, if you see compare with other global currency. That means that they want a weak rupee means that it will be helpful to boost exports. So government what is trying to do is that they want to boost exports as well as through Atmanirbhar plans. They want to boost domestic production also. So they want economy to do well based on both domestic demand as well as through exports. And in coming days, if we have to see, watch very carefully how the rupee performs. Suppose if rupee started appreciating to 70, 71 level because of weak dollar, then IT and pharma stocks may see some stagnation, mainly because of the rupee strengthening. And domestic macro data, if you see, GST collection hits all-time high. Then trade data was very positive because imports has gone up very sharply. And generally, if imports are going up, means domestic consumption has gone up. Then the PMI data is also very stubborn at higher levels. And this is the GST collection. And if you see that in the April month, there was a sharp drop in GST collection due to lockdown. Then from there, it started going up. Now, if you see in the month of December, it was almost 10-12% it has gone up, mainly because of huge collection in GST. Generally, the auto sector contributes a good amount of GST collection, and auto sales has been very strong, which is leading to higher GST collection. As well as if you see the evasion, government is taking a lot of measures to avoid evasion, and because of that also the compliance level is going up. That also will lead to higher tax collection in GST. And PMI data continuously above 55. And if you see in the last 10 years, if you see that it was well below 55, and it fell very sharply during the lockdown. And in the last 3 months, if you see, it is continuously above 55, which indicates that purchase managers were very positive on the future near-term outlook on the economy. Auto sales, very positive. Basically, two segments it is doing very well. One is the passenger vehicle segment, where Maruti almost 16% growth is there, which has a nearly 50% market share. And Tata Motors is a small base, and their sales has gone up by almost 84. So passenger vehicle is doing very well. The second segment that is doing very well is the tractor segment, where my M&M, which is the market leader in the tractor segment, their sales has gone up by 23%. Escorts, if you see, almost 90% growth is there year on year. And month on month, if you compare, even a passenger vehicle has done very well, 2.5%, 8.8% growth is there. So both on year and month on month, passenger vehicle is doing very well. And if you see the two-wheeler segment, it hasn't grown to the extent of passenger vehicle and tractor. Even though year on year some growth is there, month on month there has been a sharp decline in the sales. Tractor is basically a seasonal business, so month on month you should not compare. Year on year only you have to compare. During the monsoon time and all, it will do well. Whereas in the month of January to March, generally tractor sales used to be lower. So month on month you should not compare tractor sales, since it is a seasonal business. So overall, what we feel is that a passenger vehicle and tractor will continue to do well. In two-wheeler segment, exports will do well, where Bajaj Auto and TVS Motor has a major export share. They will do well. Royal Enfield also, they have now started exporting. That segment are also doing very well for Royal Enfield. So export business is expected to do well. Hero Moto, where majority, more than 95-96% of the business is domestic only. It depends completely on domestic sales. The other interesting factor where it is highlighted in the media is the real estate transactions, which it has gone up very sharply in the last in the month of December, especially in the Mumbai property, where the price is extremely high, where high ticket transactions used to happen. And if you see that, almost 3x jump when compared to year on year. In December 2019, only 6,400 registration was there, whereas in December 2020, almost 20,000 registration was there. Almost 3x jump in overall registration when you compare it with year on year, and it has been steadily climbing up. If you see in the last 5 months, if you see steadily climbing up, and December is one of the record registration for the Mumbai property market, where these are high ticket transactions, because Mumbai is the costliest real estate market in India. And if you see full year basis, in spite of 2-3 months of almost nil transactions, in the month of April and May, almost 0 transactions were there. And in June and July, August only small transactions were there. Almost 5 months of very low transaction. The FY 2020 has ended up just marginally lower than what we have seen in the 2019. So overall, if transactions are going up, means the housing finance company used to do well. We are seeing that LIC housing finance is doing very well in the market. SDFC is doing very well, and we expect housing finance company to do well. If you don't know how to buy the real estate stocks, better you can participate in it through housing finance companies. And there are 5-6 housing finance companies are listed. Some of them are very volatile, like LIC housing finance used to be high beta stocks, where used to go up very sharply, similarly used to fall very sharply. There are some stable companies are there, like SDFC, which moves in line with the index. you can participate according to our risk profile. And real estate company, very difficult to value individual company. So better if you want to participate in real estate companies, means you can participate through housing finance companies. Generally, when market goes up, fundraising used to be very high in the market. And if you see the fundraising by the companies, it is the highest in the last 10 years. Almost 1,70,000 it has been raised in the calendar year 2020. That is from January to December. And if you see in the last 2 years, the rights issue has contributed a lot. In 2019, the huge amount of 52,000 crores, majority of it came in only from two companies. One is the Vodafone Idea, which came with 25,000 crores rights issue. Then Bharti Airtel, that also came with 25,000 rights issue. That is why the rights issue contributed huge sum of money in the 2019. Almost 50% came from rights issue only. And in 2020, the rights issue value is huge mainly because of the Reliance rights issue. That is why it also contributed huge value for rights issue. Overall, the fundraising has been extremely high and almost 10 times what we have seen in the year 2011. So QIP, where many companies, listed companies are raising almost 80,000 crores they have raised, rights issue 64, and through IPOs 26,000. So one of the highest in recent years. 1,70,000 crores has been raised in 2020. So in 2021, we are expecting one big ticket IPO, that is LIC, Life Insurance Corporation of India. It is expected government is likely to divest around a 10% stake in it, and we are expecting at least the IPO size will be 50,000 crores to 1 lakh crore. That is what we are expecting in LIC IPO alone. That will hit the market in 2021. And COVID cases, luckily India hasn't seen the second wave till now. The cases are continuously declining, and it is now well below 25,000. So that is a big positive for our economy. And if you see the European and American countries and all, they are seeing huge surge in second wave. Number of cases are on record levels in this country. In fact, many European countries have put in another severe lockdown. The lockdown much severe than what they have put in during the first time. Luckily, India, there has been there is no surge in the COVID cases. And this is the global COVID cases. It has gone up very sharply, led by US. Almost 750,000 cases has come few days back. Almost 40-50% has come in from US alone, and other majorities are mainly contributed from UK, from European countries. And the vaccination has started, and we expect in the next 5-6 months, almost developed countries, they will do vaccination for majority of their population. And the next 1 or 2 months, we are going to see sharp drop in the global COVID cases by the vaccination. If a certain portion of population gets vaccinated, means naturally the herd immunity will start coming in, whereby we will start seeing the end of the COVID. One asset class which has been seeing a huge highlight in the media is the Bitcoin. Many of our clients are asked me question. Even I don't understand the Bitcoin. I'm studying it, but in next meeting I will try to explain what is meant by Bitcoin. And if you see that Bitcoin prices has gone up very sharply, almost double it has happened in the last 20-30 days. And even yesterday, if you see that it has crossed 40,000. And there are a lot of theories floating around. Some of them say Bitcoin is the bubble, and you should be very careful. Whereas the contrarians, those who are holding Bitcoin, they say that bubble will not happen twice in an asset class, because in 2018 it went up very sharply. Then everyone told that it is a bubble. It fell very sharply. Then again, when it went up, if you see that it has crossed the previous high, that is the high happened in 2018. So what their thesis is that those who are supporting the Bitcoin is that a bubble in an asset class will happen only once, and it won't happen 2 times. And if you see that when a previous high has been crossed, means then it is definitely it is not a bubble. That is the supportive argument they are making. Some of them saying that due to scarcity premium, Bitcoin is seeing a huge price surge, and valuation of Bitcoin has now almost come to 1 trillion. Some of them are saying it is a digital gold, and people are buying Bitcoin instead of buying gold because it is a rival to gold. Even 3 days back, Goldman Sachs, they have given a price target of almost 1,50,000, $1,64,000 per Bitcoin. That is the price they are expecting in the Bitcoin. Yesterday it has close to 40,000. That means Goldman Sachs is expecting 4 times what is the price of Bitcoin which closed yesterday to go up from here. From 40,000, they are expecting to 1,64,000 level. So in India, there are a lot of regulatory issues are there, and you have to be very careful, because if something goes wrong, means you can't go and claim legally to anyone by telling that I have lost money in Bitcoin, somebody cheated me on Bitcoin and all. It will be very difficult to argue legally once you got cheated, or if you have lost money in Bitcoin. So those who knows all the risk, if they want, they can play the bubble or the rally. And this is also another important chart where US Fed balance sheet. So it has been continuously going up. And US Fed balance sheet is like a company balance sheet where they have asset and liabilities. On asset side, they hold government bonds. On liability side, the cash in circulation, as well as the cash held by the commercial banks that come under liability side. So the asset side, if you see, means the government bonds they are holding, it has been continuously going up. It was less than $1 trillion just before the global economic financial crisis in 2008. And when 2008, when global financial crisis hit, they started doing quantitative easing. At that time, the size of the US Fed balance sheet went up from 1 trillion to 2 trillion. Then every month they were purchasing government bonds through quantitative easing. It has been steadily going up, and in the last 2-3 years their economy was doing very well. So they reduced the size of the quantitative easing, as well as because of maturity of they have reduced the size of the quantitative easing, and the last 2 years they were not doing any quantitative easing. So as government bonds used to mature, the US balance sheet started declining. But at that time only the corona issue came, and again they have started buying bonds. And if you see that, a sharp jump in the US balance sheet size, almost from 4 trillion, now it has gone to 7.5 trillion it has gone to. So this is the amount of liquidity which is playing in a majority of the world, and we are seeing that that too at a very record low interest rate, almost zero interest rate they are giving it. And this is the money where many foreign institutional investors are playing across various asset class, be it on cryptocurrency, or be it on stock market, be it on US markets in Nasdaq and all. So this is the liquidity which is helping the valuations of many asset classes. What analysts are expecting is that the high liquidity will continue at least for next year till FY23. They are expecting that it will continue. So that is why they are playing in the market. And once the liquidity started, balance sheet started shrinking, means in the future it may happen in FY22, in calendar year 22, or it may happen in the calendar year 23. At that time, there is a possibility of the very high valuation we are seeing that may started coming down, and US Fed generally will start shrinking the balance sheet once if they start seeing inflation started going up. So the inflation is the key trigger to watch, and if inflation started going up, means then naturally US Fed will start shrinking the balance sheet, and they will start tightening the liquidity. At that time, then most of the sky high valuations which we are seeing now, they will start shrinking. And so one eye we have to keep very close watch is the inflation in coming months, because already many asset classes, base metals and crude oil and all started going up. And if inflation starts coming up, means then the Fed will become cautious and the liquidity which is floating around, they may start tightening it. And this is also one of the very important chart, the Wipro. This is the 20 more than 20-year chart. And if you see that during the dot-com bubble from in 1998 and in 2000, that is in 2 years time, Wipro price went up by more than 100 times at that time. It was daily hitting upper circuit and it was going up vertically. But once the dot-com bubble started bursting, the price fell very sharply. And if we see that, in spite of Wipro showing so huge profit in the last 20 years, in spite of their profits going up very sharply in the last 20 years, in spite of company making buyback time to time, it took almost 20 years for Wipro stock to cross previous high. Just 2 months back only, the stock crossed previous high, and Wipro, in spite of showing all the profitability, it took 20 years for it to cross the 2020 to 2000 high, which means that suppose if you buy a stock at an unprecedented valuation, means in spite of company doing well in the future, it will take a long time for you to get back to the price. Suppose if you buy a company at 100 PE, so many companies are now trading at 100 PE, 120 PE even in our market, and some sharp correction comes, means for you to get the price, first thing is that company has to do well. The second thing is that it has to do well for the for long term. Then only you will get your buy price. So for Wipro stock, in spite of company doing very well, it took almost 20 years for it to reach the previous high. So, and buying high valuation stocks, you have to be very careful and you should know how to exit it also. Right now, we are seeing so many stocks. In India, it is less, whereas in India, in US Nasdaq and all, people now again started justifying high valuation based on 2030 earnings, based on 2020 10 years growth they have put in the Excel sheet. That means every year the company will grow by 30%, 40%, and started justifying the current price based on next 10-year earning. So you have to be very careful. Suppose if something goes wrong and bubble burst or cycle turns, means then it will many stocks won't come to that price. Almost more than 50% of that stock won't come to the bubble highest price, and some of the stocks, even if they come, means they have to perform very well. So we have to be very careful in the stocks which are trading at very high valuation. And events to watch, if you see that vaccine status, we have to see how it is distributed. And India, it is expected that in next 1 week time they are going to vaccinate, and globally vaccination have started. We have to see how quickly they are going to do. And foreign portfolio action, it will be very crucial for the markets, because they are the one who are driving it. Mutual funds and all can consistently redeeming. Even in the month of December, they were sellers of almost 13,000 crores worth of money has been redeemed from the mutual funds. So to meet redemptions, they are continuously selling. And more importantly, Q3 results, we are expecting it will be a very good result. And yesterday we have got TCS results, and next week Wipro, HCLTech, Infosys result will come, and next Saturday HDFC Bank result will come. And results will be, we are expecting it will be a very good results, and it will be supportive to stock prices, most of the results. And what the funny this time is going to that media will start comparing according to their wish. And if the company, if they are liking, means they will compare with quarter on quarter. Definitely quarter on quarter results will be good. So based on quarter on quarter, they will tell that results are very good. And some of the companies, if they don't like, means then they will start comparing with year on year, and they will start justifying that year on year the results are not good, so we don't like that company. So according to their own wish, this time results we can interpret it either on quarter basis or on year basis. Then union budget is going to be announced on scheduled on February 1st, and we are going to see a lot of action in mainly mid caps and small caps, and sectorally we are going to see a lot of action in the ahead of the union budget. And government PSU companies, mainly it will be PSU companies. Then we are going to see the action in infrastructure companies ahead of the budget. And finally, if you see our take on the market is definitely not in a bubble, but select stocks and the sector valuations are extremely high. Even if you see in the specialty chemical companies and all, you see many companies are trading at 60 PE, 70 PE. We are not very comfortable to that valuations. And sector many consumption-based companies are trading at 100 PE, 120 PE. There also we are not very comfortable. If we leave aside our market, these very high valuation in select stocks and sectors, our market is definitely not in a bubble. Then anytime correction can come, it will be generally led by global markets, and some trigger will come for correction. And if correction comes means, then it will be very sharp and it will shake everyone. So the company we are buying, we should be confident of folding it. That company alone we should buy. If correction comes also, we should have some conviction to fold on this. And correction when comes means it will be very sharp. Then post correction, we are expecting a quick recovery led by earnings recovery. That is what we are expecting for our market. And around union budget time, volatility is expected either just before budget or post budget. We are expecting a huge volatility in the market. So one should be prepared for that. Thank you. Now Patanaban will take recommendations.
We will come to the recommendations of this month. First, we recommend L&T. As you know, the L&T is mainly catering to the infrastructure and engineering business. As the economy recovers, this sector will get huge orders. So L&T is now getting good orders for the last 3 months. Also, its subsidiary companies, IT companies like L&T Infotech, L&T Services, and Mindtree are doing good. So its subsidiary companies valuation also is very good now. So you can buy L&T with 3 to 6 months view for decent returns. The second stock that we recommend is Cipla. As you know, Cipla is one of the leading pharmaceutical company in India. Its exposure to US is very minimum. Now they are launching more products in US, mainly in the respiratory disease sections. So there is a very good, great scope for good business from USA, as most of these products are complex generics. So Cipla will grow its US generic business in next 2 to 3 years to very good part of the core business. So one can buy Cipla also at the current market price for a target of 960 rupees. The third stock that we recommend is Maruti Suzuki. As we see in presentations, the passenger vehicle section is showing good demand, and the demand will, as from the management commentary, the demand will continue to grow at decent rates. Now the Maruti is selling around 160,000 cars per month. Also, they are going to hike the price from this January due to increase in raw material costs. So the profitability of the company will not take a hit. So automobile sector as a sector wise is going good recovery. So one of the leading player is Maruti Suzuki at the current rate for a return or a decent return, and target price is around 9,243. It has touched almost 10,000 rupees in 2018. So even from the highest price, even it is down almost 20%. So one can buy at current levels also. The fourth one is JM Financials. As you know, the property market in Mumbai is showing good recovery, mainly due to the Maharashtra government actions. First, they reduced the stamp duty around 50%. Now they are reduced all the levies, from registration levies to final accommodation fees, to almost 50% of the existing fees up to December 31st. JM Financial is mainly catering to the real estate development sector for real estate segment. So JM Financial has touched around 180 during 2018 mid-cap rally. Now it's trading around 100 only, 94, 95 only. So one can buy JM Financials from the point of view in recovery in real estate in Mumbai, mainly Mumbai and Maharashtra. And overall their asset management, all the other business are also showing good, decent growth. So one can buy JM Financial at current valuations. Finally, we are recommending NMDC. NMD is catering to the mining of iron ore. So globally, the iron ore price has increased almost 70% in last 1 year. So NMDC has a great scope to show good profit in this quarter also and coming quarter also. As you know that the globally most of the metal prices, including iron ore prices, are in an uptrend. So the commodity stocks will benefit from the higher raw material prices from their higher global raw material prices. So one can buy NMDC for a decent return at current market price of 125. The previous month's recommendations are showing the Sensor Tech. We have recommended two stocks has hit the target. Like Brompton Consumer and Balaji Amines has hit the target, and Balaji Amines is also now trading around 1140. We have given recommendation around 920 also. So overall, the portfolio has given a 4% return, but it's underperformed the Nifty. Nifty has given around 6% return. But the companies that we can Sensor, Apollo, and Balram Chini are good companies. They are starting momentum now, so you can hold it for you can hold it for the period. So it will hit the target recently. That's all for from recommendation point of view.